There we go. So, hi everyone, welcome to the cert-manager bi-weekly meeting on the 17th of November 2021. We've got 4 items on the agenda as we start the meeting. We'll see how many are on it by the time we finish. We're joined by many people from the cert-manager team all in the same room, which is novel, and a bunch of AWS Amazon people as well, which is great to have you guys here. I think most of the people who are on the call have been on it one time or another, so I'm not sure it's worth going around doing introductions. Maybe not this guy.
11 people.
He opted out of the meeting. Oh, there we go. Welcome, Dan.
Hello. Hi,
Hey.
everyone.
Which company are you calling from?
I'm with AWS with Brandy and team.
Okay, great.
Nice to have you. AWS is probably a good guess for anyone piling in.
Yeah, I didn't want to assume, but I thought most likely probably another. But yeah, great to have you all here. So I'll just kick us off. Actually, if you AWS people, if you wanted to talk about the PCA issue, you might want to go first.
I've been working on that. So the big topic is that we're cutting our 1.0.0 release. We've been in beta for a while, and we were trying to get our testing story together, to make sure that nothing breaks and that our issuer was stable. And we have confidence now that that is, because we've rewritten our test suite in Go. So now we have a nice test suite on every PR to verify that, the issuer is working. It's not currently set up, but hopefully by the end of tomorrow. So right now we've been running those integration tests manually, which kind of sucks, mainly because we were pending an AppSec review to actually get the GitHub actions to run the integration test automatically. But that's gone through for us. So hopefully by the end of tomorrow, we'll have automated testing, and then after that, automated testing on every PR, and then hopefully, Thursday. So tomorrow we'll cut the 1.0.0 release with the stability and the testing. Yep.
Great news. Thank you for sharing. It's super positive. I don't really have much more to say beyond that's great news. Thank you for sharing, though. So,
yeah.
So if that's the announcement, we can move on. If you guys have anything else you wanted to talk about, then feel free to join in. So the next item is something that I put, which is on delaying cert-manager 1.7. This is something that seemed kind of maybe obvious to me. I'm not sure if it's going to be particularly controversial, but we have a release process that is documented on the cert-manager website, which has timelines for when we're going to release something. The scheduled next release of cert-manager is on the 7th of December 2021, which is following the usual pattern that we had before, the usual release cadence, I guess. The issue is I don't think there's going to be much in that if we release it on December 7th. I don't think there's been much in the way of new code added to cert-manager in the last few weeks. Certainly we as the core contributors have largely not been working directly on any features or anything. And it's also getting into the sort of festive Christmas season where less stuff happens anyway. I don't have a date in mind for proposing we should do it on this date instead, but I just don't think it's worth us cutting a release on December the 7th. I'm not sure there's going to be value coming from that. One thing I did think is to look at the oldest Kubernetes releases that are on the various cloud vendors. So we kind of determine which Kubernetes versions we support based on which versions are provided by things like EKS, GKE, AKS. There's not there's no obvious date we can delay to there. So the oldest supported one is Kubernetes 1.18, and that's end of life in March 2022. on GKE, so probably we don't want to wait until March. There's no other end of life incoming before that, as far as I know. So maybe sometime in January after Christmas, mid-January maybe. But the idea is just generally wait until next year at least, I think. Proposal made.
And yeah, I guess release cadence is like a topic that's come up a few times over the years.
I think we've lost Josh, so I can hear him speaking behind me, but it's not coming through my headphones.
Can you hear me again?
We can hear you now, yes. Great.
Yeah, I don't think the my laptop likes the office Wi-Fi very much. But I was saying, yeah, I don't remember the original main reasons why you switched to a regular release cadence, but that might be worth looking at again. Like, what do we mean by release? Why are we doing releases, kind of thing? So it'd be worth thinking about. Like, I know we spent a lot of time kind of thinking about what our release cadence should be and things like that, and so I feel like there should be good reason to break that. And if we're going to break it, what does that mean for further releases? Is it going to kind of go into an ad hoc release cadence again? What makes it into a release? What doesn't? That kind of thing. Not saying that I'm against kind of breaking this kind of release cadence for this particular release, but we should write down why we're doing it. Yeah, I guess even in an ideal world, we'd release an alpha every day, right? You know, or we need to do it somewhere in the middle. I don't know. I'm just kind of blabbing on with some thoughts. Yeah, but yeah, I don't necessarily have very strong opinions about it.
I do agree with you about the regularly releasing alphas. That would definitely be ideal, where it just kind of would become immaterial when we could cut a release anytime and it wouldn't matter. But we're not there, and we certainly won't be there by December the 7th for this next release. So at least for this one, I'm just kind of thinking, give it some more time.
I believe that we chose the fixed release timelines to have a supported a timeline for backporting fixes, so that we would, if we supported the last 2 minor versions, which is what we decided on, is that we'd then have a fixed timeline for which you'd have to upgrade if you wanted support. I think that was the primary reason for having a fixed release timeline rather than feature-based or deprecation-based.
And I guess that, in a sense, is trying to protect feature velocity, right? By protecting the developers, whereby they could work on newer stuff sooner, and they would be it's clear where everyone's at, basically, what's going to be supported and what's not. So I guess there's an argument that because there isn't a lot of velocity going on at the moment, it doesn't matter that we have the benefit of dropping support for an older release, let's say, if that made any sense.
Yeah, we also, without new features to sort of talk about in a release, we don't have a carrot on a stick to dangle in front of people to say, hey, you should upgrade. So it all comes together. I think there will be features that we can talk about in 1.7. Just I don't think they'll be there for December 7th, and that's around the time of the JetStack Christmas party as well, which I'm sure will get in the way.
Yeah, I think things like handling secrets better, for example, was something that I was quite keen to get in 1.7. Yeah, so it'd be disappointing for me that it wouldn't be in. So I guess from a personal perspective, yeah.
That we should release an alpha every feature, or every commit.
If we get some makefile stuff done, then maybe it sort of speed things up a bit. But I guess the key thing here is I'm not hearing anyone particularly opposed to this. So I will write it down in a more formal way, maybe try and pick a date that seems reasonable. I'll do that in the method of raising a PR against the supported releases page on the website, and we can review the timescale change like it's as a Git PR, because it will be a Git PR. So yeah, I'll do that as an action from this meeting.
I'm struggling a bit with my audio and video, but the only thing I was going to say is that would it be terrible to do the release and have the only feature be the dropping of the old API versions? That's the one thing I was kind of keen to get done. And maybe James Munnelly's config file stuff, because I need some of I need to have that for some of my OpenShift integration. On the other hand, if there are alpha releases regularly, I can do regular OpenShift releases with those. So I'm kind of on the fence. I wouldn't be bothered if we did the 1.7 release and the only thing in it was the dropping of the old API versions.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of thing is like exactly why I wanted to raise it in the meeting, because that's a valid reason to do a release. Like deprecating the old API versions, is, getting rid of them, sorry, is like a good thing. If the consensus is that that's valuable enough, and the config stuff is valuable enough to do a release, then we certainly can. I just I couldn't, off the top of my head, I couldn't think earlier of a reason not to delay.
Like I think we've said in various, places that we've got this deprecation schedule, the deprecation then removal schedule. It may have been documented, it may have just been spoken about in passing, but we've talked about 1.7 being. Oh, I suppose Ashley, you're not saying there will be a 1.7. It's just when the 1.7 release happens.
Yep, just saying there'll be a 1.7 with more stuff in if we do it next year.
I guess I quite like the release, the fixed release schedule, but maybe we should talk about making it less frequent.
There was the question earlier as well, if people will upgrade if there are no user-facing features. Because right now, the APIs are the ones that we want to remove are already not served. So there is no user-facing feature if we do that. So then why would anyone upgrade?
Yeah, I mean, that's true. But new users will get the cert-manager without all of the legacy cruft. And we won't have to, we'll have a code base which is much cleaner. Especially if we're going to do that API separation project.
I'm getting more and more convinced to releasing 1.7 with, but not whether we should delay or not is a different question, I guess.
We've got like a couple of weeks before we need to cut the first beta, maybe a week. I'm not sure how many weeks are until the 11th, but
yeah, removing those old APIs for me is I think like a strong would be good to be done before attempting to split out the API. I'm just trying to think about Go modules and stuff. Maybe that's silly. Maybe that makes no sense.
We can finally drop the conversion webhook, and be so much simplification.
I suppose I would say we can still get those benefits on the master branch for development against it. Do we need to do a release to get those wins, the cleaner code base?
No, that's true. We don't necessarily, but it would. I almost think it would be nice to have, in a way, because dropping those API versions is quite a big thing. It would be nice to have that in a fairly boring release without the complication of other features. But yeah, I'm not really too strongly opinionated about it.
I mean, it makes sense to me. That's the kind of thing I was hoping would come out of me raising this. So, like, maybe we just stick to December the 7th, even if there's not going to be much in it. The next release after that is the 9th of February 2022. So,
yeah,
all sounds good to me. Proposal rejected. I won't raise the PR. I think that's totally reasonable.
Well, unless we come to do the work on removing all of the APIs, and it turns into a massive can of worms, and we never get it done. In which case, we need to get that. I said I was going to have a look at that, and I haven't done it yet. So let's see if this time next week we're still in the position of not having removed those APIs, and then perhaps you're right, Ashley, we should delay it.
That segues beautifully, Richard, into my other point, which I'll skip to now because it's so related, was about the old API removal stuff, and where we were at with it. Because there's a community member with a PR in flight to add a dir encoded private key to cert-manager issued certs. Thierry Salé, Kyle can correct my French pronunciation. So he's been working on it, and he bumped against V1 beta in that, and I was surprised because I thought we'd already removed them, but I guess we haven't. But we're going to.
Yeah, we are no longer serving them, but we haven't removed the API yet. So yeah, if we get that, if I get or someone gets that work done, then that PR will be simplified.
I'll report that back to him. But yeah, that I just kind of wanted to see where we were with it because I realized I didn't know. Move on to the next step, which Jake has talked about the cert-manager power users call to arms.
Yeah, so I was waiting for other people to join the meeting to bring this up, because as part of the 1.6 release, we always release a beta version at least a week before doing the final release. And the idea is that if no one reports any bugs, then the exact same Git commit will be used to build the final release. And as usual, no one really tested the beta release. So there was a bug in it that might have been found if people integrated it into their own testing. So now that there are some people from AWS here, is there a good way for us to run your whatever tests you have against beta versions of cert-manager so that we know if we've broken something? And we're not just.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're also. I'm also going to reach out to other people I know are using it. Like we've been talking to Red Hat, and VMware popped up saying that their new Kubernetes distribution has cert-manager integrated. So we'd like to reach out to them too.
Yeah, it's at least for us, there's not a super clean way right now for you guys to run the test against a specific version of cert-manager. But I think there was talks before. This was a while ago, so excuse me if this isn't really something that we're looking at. I think like a long time ago when PCA was like looking at the issuer and supporting it, there was like a discussion about integration tests written directly into cert-manager that get run on their releases against our code. Is that something that you guys are still looking to do? Because that would be, I imagine the easiest way is we just port over wherever you tell us the test so that you can run it.
Yeah, I guess it works the other way, where we could run tests that pull in community stuff. So this is more of a like it's just ideas out loud kind of thing, rather than I don't have a solid plan for it.
Yeah.
Speak to the sorry, no, go.
Yeah, no, I was saying we could go either way. I just imagine that, you know, you guys would probably have some sort of unified solution that, you know, all the external issuers could use in terms of ensuring that they work with every version of cert-manager.
Yeah, I don't think we do. You're muted, Josh.
Okay. Can you hear me? Good. Yeah. So yes, cert-manager does have a conformance suite, which is intended for this kind of thing, and that does run like a set of like integration tests, I guess, against a particular issuer, and that can be toggled. Like various tests can be toggled based on features. It is possible today to test an external issuer, such as PCA. But and we do have kind of like an example way to do that, but I think it could maybe be documented a bit better, and perhaps the developer experience around it could be improved somewhat. But there is mechanisms today, I guess, to do it. Just it probably will take a bit more work than it should ideally. But I think this might be slightly parallel to what you're talking to, Jake. Talking about the kind of beta testing, but or perhaps not.
Yeah, I think it's probably good for us to run performance tests against a bunch of external issues, because the only thing we do now is run the performance tests against our sample code base, like the sample external issuer, so that we are sure that the mechanism that anyone can write an external issuer still works. But this was more about people using. So the bug that was in 1.6 was we upgraded the Java key store generator in the library, and that added a minimum password length to key store. And because our tests didn't cover this, we only found it when someone upgraded and said, "Oh, the key store no longer works. Why is that?" So I guess if anyone has the capability just of spinning up environments and testing with new cert-managers, we were just looking at finding a group of people that we know could do that and asking them to test cert-manager beta releases as well. But that's additionally, us integration testing against real external issuers, not just the sample one, is probably a good idea, and that would be on us rather than. So we would just pull the latest release of PCA, I guess, and run it. Yeah,
we can cut a PR on our repo, and I guess if you can send me a link, we can track something in terms of, you know, where you guys want us to write the test and the conformance test suite in general.
Okay, I'll put that in the meeting notes, and I guess that's enough. It's enough for me from this meeting. Does anyone have any more questions?
And also welcome to Matt.
Hello. Hey, how you doing? For once, I'm not double booked at this time.
So no one has any more questions on Jake's topic. I saw Dan has added in a another thing, which AWS KYC initiative. I'm guessing that means know your customer.
Nailed it.
Oh yeah.
So we're currently diving deep into just knowing the EKS customers and cert-manager customers, so that we can understand how big we should push the plugin, the issuer that we have. And so one of the things I just wanted to ask you all is if you can get your support, if you have any data on how many EKS users are using the cert-manager plugin. If you have that, would be really helpful. The goal here is understanding how many folks are using the combination of cert-manager and EKS, as well as then trying to dive deep into connecting with them eventually. But wanted to start with just asking if you guys have that kind of data, and if you'd be willing to help us get to know our customers better.
I don't have that data to hand, but very, very fortuitous that Matt Bates has joined the call when he did, because I suspect he has some insights that may be relevant. Maybe it'd be worth you talking.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what type of thing are you looking for, Dan? Are you looking at things like, or are you looking for things like, download numbers, I guess? For
things like that.
Because that's as far as it can probably go. I mean, obviously we don't, much like any the open source and the CNCF, we don't have any telemetry or kind of tracking that would give like very fine grained data. So we don't really know where it lands, right? And what type of cluster it is, or where it's hosted, whatever else. But we would sort of know, obviously, the download numbers. So we track those for the cert-manager project itself. I'm in the core, and I guess I'm looking at the team here. We'd have the similar data, right? It's exactly the same data for this other set of images, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if you guys had that telemetry or not. If you did, it would have been great. But your download numbers are just your total downloads, right? It's not necessarily for AWS or any, depending on the issuer or the application. So, kind of in the same spot we are.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if we even capture kind of requester's IP or something, try and match that against an AWS IP block or something. But yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think it would hurt to ask, but I appreciate you guys chatting with me on this.
Well, yeah, we don't.
No worries. But yeah, we can certainly. I mean, it's good to get the data out for the container image pools. And they're fairly significant for cert-manager itself. It'd be good to look at the respective issuers, because now, of course, you're talking about the PCA issuer. Sorry, did I
Yes,
catch that?
that's correct.
Okay, so yeah, that's obviously now part of the cert-manager org. So my guess, again, looking at the team, we'd have the stats right through Quay, however you pronounce it, right?
I mean, I think PCA Issuer is just on GitHub Container Registry, right?
Is it really? Okay, sorry, I thought it might have been through. It's of course because the key currently is JetStack, isn't it? For JetStack, right?
Yeah, because we haven't moved it or thought about. Well, we thought a bit about moving it, but not very hard because it's super low priority.
Okay, so currently it's a GitHub Container Registry image. Is that right, Dan? Yeah.
I'm not fully sure. I don't know if Brandon or can help.
Yeah, we're moving to ECR though.
Is it cool? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make more sense. Your customers and where they are. Cool. Yeah. So I mean, if we can dig up some stats, if we're in a position to dig up those stats, then of course it makes a lot of sense to share them, so you get a sense for how much of the community is using it, and perhaps some changes over time, given that it's been out in the wild now for some time.
Yeah, that'll be helpful. And also, I would share this, with the EKS team. They see cert-manager as an important add-on, and so understanding the rate of download, the increase, and the trend, it would definitely be helpful.
Of course, yeah. Because in my understanding, it's an add-on, isn't it, to EKSA as well? So it comes part of EKSA.
Yeah, that is the guidance we provide when folks ask how to do certificate management with an EKSA. Yeah. That's the guidance we give.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool, but yeah, no, we're happily share it. I mean, it's it's a good place to. Yeah, I mean, for all the issues, right? We host in the core project. It's good to get those numbers shared.
Yeah, so, appreciate it.
We did actually when we were thought not very hard about moving the container registry. There were two motivations. One was that key.io was not. It didn't look like they were going to implement cosign container signing support, but they have said they will do that. But they still have not. And the other motivation was to get download IP telemetry because we can't get it from Key.io because they use their own, they use Akamai or something, and they don't expose that data. But if we hosted it somewhere else, we would at least get like rough, very rough, like country and company telemetry. But we don't have it at the moment, so that was just, and it's not, and it hasn't been high priority. But maybe it would bump it up very slightly if we want that data.
If I'm right, I think the Linkerd project uses some kind of hosted proxy as some kind of service that sits in front of container registries to give you some level of some level of information about who the end users are. Not specifically, I mean, but yeah, as you said, sort of regions and that type of thing. So maybe it's worth checking in with that project to see what they use and their experience of it, because obviously it's really useful for the project to sort of figure out trends, particularly for the different sub projects as well, not just the core cert-manager project, but also some of the more somewhat more experimental projects. Yes, we can see GitHub stars. That's a kind of one metric we can use, but it might be also good to look at some of the other metrics to understand adoption with some of these. And I think that applies to the provider.
Even cloud provider would be useful. Then you could see what percentage of customers were on each cloud. Yeah. But yeah, we have thought about it, but we don't have the data. Sorry.
Sure, thanks, guys.
Yeah, I hope that helps, Dan. Yeah.
Great. So it seems like that topic's come to a close. Is there anything else that anyone wanted to talk about? We've reached the end of the agenda.
Vanity imports.
Floor is yours.
No, I'm only kidding. It's fine. I'll let it go one day.
Yeah, like I understand the desire for that. Would we do that? Like, if we were going to do a vanity import, would it make sense to do it when we migrate the repo to the cert-manager org? Would we have to make that call before we make the move?
I can't think of a technical reason why that would be the case.
That's good. It would kind of be a shame to block the move, because I think we're getting closer to being able to do that move.
Yeah, it was my understanding that it was only kind of suggested to be done at the same time, just because it's kind of convenient, or it just kind of conceptually makes sense that you would change the import. We're changing the import anyway. That's right. Yeah, we're changing the import anyway. It made sense to do two changes at the same time to make it one. Yeah, that was why that was done at the same time. But I don't think there's a technical reasons why. Like, if we're already changing it once, then we can change it twice, kind of thing. Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, we're definitely not getting consensus, so let's not worry.
Fair enough. Anyone else got anything they wanted to raise or that they're long for?
Yeah, I was just I was trying to add it to the agenda, but I couldn't find the doc in the right time. But I don't know if it's been mentioned, but we're looking at a refresh of cert-manager.io. I know the JetStack folks know about this, but this is obviously the right forum to share it. JetStack will sponsor it, so we're going to actually kick this off like really soon. Ash, am I right in saying you might be involved in this? Yeah, on our side, yeah.
I volunteer as tribute.
You volunteered yourself, right? And so yeah, we've got some. We've contracted someone to help us as well with the design and some of the web part of it effectively. So yeah, it was just to say we're doing it. Feel free to, if anyone's interested, come find us and get involved effectively. But I think over the next month, we're really looking to give it a facelift. Yeah, it's been long overdue.
Christmas present for cert-manager.
Let's say again.
A Christmas present for cert-manager.
Exactly, a shiny new website.
Good to
So
have
yeah,
you
if
on
anyone's got
record.
any ideas, any thoughts, yeah, feel free to yeah, Ash, yeah, is that all right to direct them at you?
Absolutely, I'd be happy to talk to anyone.
Okay, I put it in the meeting notes. You can
Thanks.
join cert-manager dev on Kubernetes Slack, and that's where we hang out.
Thanks, Jake.
Good point. Actually, I'll solicit some feedback from the community on Slack and just see if anyone pops up. Most likely, no one will respond to me when I ask a question, but maybe someone will pop up with something that they would like to see improved. There might be some good suggestions there. I'll see what people have to say.
I mean, with the Amazon people here, perhaps would it be worth having a section of cert-manager IO dedicated to Amazon Cloud EKS and a section dedicated to Google Cloud, and maybe have the documentation for the PCA issuer in cert-manager IO, and then you'd have. I don't know whether we'd be allowed to share like what's it, analytics data about the visits to each of the pages on cert-manager IO. Like that would give you some interest, some idea of the interest in each individual issuer.
It's a good thought. Yeah, I mean,
there's a bunch of mentions of EKS across cert-manager IO, and it's all a bit of it's a piecemeal, and there's some FAQ items about how to configure EKS with different network plugins, but nothing that says if you're an EKS, here's your getting started tutorial, and here are the things you could here are the options that you have.
It's a really good point, actually. Yeah.
Sorry, Ash. Yeah,
it's a really good point. Like we have this cloud compatibility page, which has GKE and EKS on it, and sort of the gotchas that people sometimes run into. But it's not the most discoverable thing. There's definitely something that would be good for us to address. And one of the ways we do that might be by having those sort of cloud provider lists and like bear this in mind. Like, so if that's it, people are coming at it from sort of I'm running EKS rather than I'm running Kubernetes.
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Does anyone know how up to date the EKS guide is? Because I know we contributed that. Sorry, probably a couple of years ago now. I think I know who wrote it. But has it been kept up to date?
I don't think it has.
Okay.
If it's the one I'm looking at, it's a combination of EKS and TPP. It was a strange.
it was that one. Yeah.
Not a strange combination, but a most specific combination.
Yeah, we might.
It'd be nice to have one of EKS plus Route 53, DNS 01 or something.
Yeah. AWS folks, what do you think? Yeah, I mean, might there be some appetite there for improving those docs? We'd love for you to say yes.
So there's a blog we could talk about integrating some of the content from that blog into the website. Sorry, did I talk over someone?
No, go ahead. I was just adding that. Yeah, Dan, I think that would be. I mean, I think it'd be a great idea for us, at least in terms of discoverability. If within the cert-manager docs, you could figure out how to do the PC installation. Because right now, it's not awful, but right now it's just directly in our README, and I mean, your website is a lot nicer than our README is. So it would be great if we could get that, going. If you guys have like a template or stuff. Happy to fill that out.
So in terms of content, you just make a PR to. It's like it's a markdown generation site. So you just write some markdown and make a PR to the website repo. But then, like in terms of like discoverability and sections, I think that's what we're trying to improve at JetStack, because we have lots of good docs. They're just really hard to find. It's really hard to find the thing you want at the moment.
We with the refresh, we may move to something different. I mean, that's what Ash we need to probably have a chat about. But regardless, it's going to be a markdown generator, right? So the content will live in markdown, and of course we'll transition all the existing content that's there in any case. The thought at the moment was to probably keep the content, or at least the structure, relatively similar. So yeah, give it the refresh. But that's not to say we couldn't also take a look at some of the content and how it's structured. Sounds like there's a good opportunity here to improve that. And the other point, Richard, you made regardless the stats, yeah, that's obviously something we make available. It's just, this is a CNCF project, so everyone's entitled to see the stats and understand how their contributions are being received by the community.
I think we may even be obligated to include that in our annual report, which we have to write in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
One thing I think I've just spotted is that the blog that you linked, setting up end-to-end TLS encryption on Amazon EKS, I don't know if we link to that on our website at all. So certainly that could, a very quick and easy thing I can do now is add that link to our tutorials page at least. So there's a link back to that blog. Make that a little bit more discoverable.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
No worries.
Cool.
Cool. So thank you to everyone who's been taking notes. They are fantastic. It's great to have the notes so we can come back and remember what's been said. And we'll have the video as well, so that's great too. Did anyone have anything else they wanted to talk about? I'm taking the silence as a no. So I'll call it to an end there. Thank you everyone for joining. It's always great to have multiple people join. It's always great to chat with everyone. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you shortly. And now you get to watch me awkwardly fumble to stop the recording. Bye.